Hello, Mike here from GameFromScratch, and welcome to This Week in Game Dev, a quick recap of the news and events in the world of game development. This is for the week of March the 20th for 2016, and it's an important week because the Game Developer Conference, GDC 2016, just wound up. So obviously there's going to be a lot of announcements that came with it. To be honest though, compared to previous years, it wasn't as exciting. We didn't get any major new game engines or anything, so the announcements are a little muted this year, but there's a lot to cover, so let's jump right on in. Now, once again, all of the stories we cover here will be available in links down below if you want to read more. Now, to go along with GDC, and I don't know if this is a time-limited offer or not, but Sonus just released a 16-gig archive of sound effects for free. It's available on a number of different sources, Google Drive, Dropbox, torrents, etc. And as you can see, it's split across 6 different downloads across various different service providers. A huge eclectic mix of sound effects available. So if you're looking for sound effects for your game, definitely check that one out. Next up, Monogame announced that it's going to come to the Xbox One. This is kind of an interesting roundabout way of getting there because originally Monogame started life as an XNA port, and XNA started as a library for making Xbox 360 and PC games using the same source code. And then Microsoft killed support for it. So even though it's a Microsoft-created technology, it was never supported on Xbox One. So it's nice to see that it's finally available there. Now, there were a couple of other announcements along with the ID at Xbox program, which is Microsoft's Indie Developer Programming setup or club or whatever the hell you want to call it these days. But they also said that there's going to be crossplay between Windows 10 PCs and Xbox One PCs, so you can actually play a game between them. And there has been some rumors that it's going to be cross-platform, so you can play that Rocket soccer game that everyone's playing right now is going to be able to play between Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So it'll be interesting to see how that one ultimately turns out. Next up, JMonkey Engine 3.1 Alpha 3 was released. Not a ton here. They just recently split out their IDE from their engine. They used to have a custom version of, my brain is not working today, NetBeans as their IDE, and now it's decoupled. So this is resulting in faster updates, which is good to see. I also believe they screwed their website up and fixed it. So if you tried to use JMonkey Engine the last couple days and it didn't work, that's probably what you ran into. Next up, we have Project Tango plugin for Unreal Engine 4. Project Tango is Google's attempt at computer vision. Computer vision is all the rage as of late. But basically, this Tango, which is a beta, allows Unreal Engine 4 developers to add spatial awareness to their applications, both in blueprints and C++ code. Next up, we have Side Effects, who are based out of Toronto, happen to be above my local Chipotle, who have never given me Listeria, by the way. But Side Effects Software just released Houdini Engine Indie, available free. It used to be $99, now it is free. Some limitations: you need to make less than $100K a year, and you're limited to 3 developer licenses. Now, Houdini is a full-service 3D application like Maya, Max, Blender, etc. But it's heavily procedurally oriented. I can't really explain it, to be honest. It's one of those things you need to experience to understand. So if you're interested in learning more, head on over to Side Effects or watch this video I've embedded down below. Next up, AMD entered the VR headset race. They're going to do an integrated all-in-one solution. I actually think this is the way to go, especially if it comes in at a reasonable price. Because if you think about it, right now the Oculus Rift is $600, the HTC Vive is $800, and both of those require a $1,000 to $1,500 computer to run. So if AMD comes in here with all-in-one, everything going for about $700 or $800, we have a winner on our hands here potentially. They're talking about powering 2560 by 1440 display with DX12 and Vulkan graphics supported right out of the box, using a custom FX 880 or 8800P processor. Now, I know absolutely nothing about AMD chipsets as of late, so I don't know if that's good or bad. I work mostly in the mobile space, and they haven't been relevant to laptops in a very long time, so no idea what's happening there. But it could actually be an interesting play if they keep the cost down, and then you're not tethered to a computer. There's no cable running between you and the computer. So it's potentially a very cool thing. Another announcement this week was Autodesk announced that Stingray and Maya LT updates. Now, the Stingray updates should have already happened, while the Maya LT 2016 extension 3s are coming, when is that? April. But the Stingray 1.2 release expanded HTC Vive VR and Oculus Rift 0.8 SDK support, multi-core compilation, and workflow improvements. Well, Maya LT extensions that are coming soon have improved rigging, improved modeling tools, and updated the game engine exporter. So if you've never heard of it, Maya LT is their focused at indie version of the Maya 3D package, while Stingray is a game engine they bought. It was originally used by the developers that created Magico. It's C++ based, Lua programmed. I haven't actually looked into it that much. It was a very lightweight, data-driven engine, at least when Fat Shark was developing it as solo. So I don't know what it's gone on to become. It's one of those things I should check out at some point in the future. Another thing that happened this week was Nevago started offering subscription pricing for Artisy Draft. Now, Artisy Draft is a bit tricky to explain. It's basically a game design software. It's a mashup between Visio and MS Project, and allows you to do things like flowchart your program's execution or do dialogue trees, etc. It's a program, again, I've always been meaning to check out and haven't as of yet. It used to be quite pricey. It's $200-300, I think. So now it's available at a monthly rate. Subscriptions can be canceled on a per month basis, so you're basically only paying for it as long as you're finding it useful. So that's definitely a nice change there. They also dropped their prices a bit, but I don't actually know what they are right now, so they're not available in front of me. Next up, we've got Unity did a pair of releases this week. First off, 5.3, which we've been updating on quite a bit lately, is finally in full release, and 5.4 beta is now out there. Now, 5.4 beta, the biggest new features are, well, first off, a couple things went away. There's no PS3 support, and the web plugin is now gone. Ditto for the older versions of iOS are no longer supported. On top of that, though, they did improve the WebGL support, improve Retina display support, more cross-platform in-app purchases, and the big things they've done is improved visuals. And part of that improved visuals is support for PBR-based or physically-based renderers such as DDO, Quixel, or Substance Painter, Substance Designer. So they're all kind of the rage for material design these days, and now there's better support for it. Now, if you remember a little bit while back too, they switched their shader model, so the graphics should be a little bit better in 5.4. They've done a video that shows the comparison from the one to the other if you actually want to see it. It'll be linked down below as part of this post. Next up, and this one's somewhat interesting, is the CryEngine Humble Bundle was released. I actually did a video on it specifically. You can see it inside the CryEngine bundle. There is a video. Did I link it from here? Oh, maybe I didn't. It's directly in my channel, however. You can see what you get for this bundle. But basically, it is a collection of, they claim something like $22 million worth of assets available. And a lot of them are in CryEngine specifically, but a lot of them are not. Everything you see here, the big ones you'd be interested in, like this characters and animals, city pack, etc. These ones, this Madison Pike ones, can be used in any game engine. And what you get is a little random. It could be Maya projects or FBXs or OBJ files, you name it. So it's just a huge dump of assets, and these things are gigantic. Like in some cases, like there was a brick a floor tile which was 400 megs in size, which was used for creating the high definition version for making normal maps. So this was professional level assets. So the only thing is, it actually ended up being a not very broad number of them. So unless you're really specifically looking for something, having this actually match the rest of your art in the game could be really tricky, because what you're getting is, 10 to 12 really, really high quality assets plus per thing. But obviously things like plants and shrubs that can just be dropped in are hugely valuable. And on top of that, we have a bunch of stuff that can only be used with CryEngine itself. These mocap animation packs, Crytek Formula Racer, etc. And we're going to get back to Crytek in a minute. Now also they've released some of their Rome, Rise Son of Rome packs. So if you are looking at making a game in CryEngine, this pack is really good for you. But if you're not, it's still quite a good deal. Now that's on the Humble Bundle, and you basically, the way the Humble Bundle works is it goes to charity. You pick how much goes to the Humble Bundle itself, how much goes to the charity, and how much goes to the developer. But basically, you set your own price. I got everything for $13. There's a tier down from that for $8. I don't know how much longer this is going to be running. Let me just make sure and check right now. So as of the time of this video, still running, and you have 8 days left. So if you are interested in checking it out, it's a very, very cool pack of game developer assets. Now, where was I? think I was right here. Nope. Spoiler alert. Okay. So there. Next up, we finally got the price on the PlayStation VR. And the thing is, I've been talking about every single one of these releases going, Jesus, guys, you can't be charging $700, $800. This is insane. Well, Sony got the message. They're bringing this thing out at $400. And when you consider that the cost of a PlayStation 4 is probably about the same, you can get a full PlayStation and the VR hookup now for the same price as just an HTC Vive. So Sony may have a winner on their hands here. So it's officially coming out. I forget the exact date. Oh, there we go. Launch is October 2016. So definitely very cool that there's one coming out with a good price, because so far the only one that's been feasible, in my humble opinion, is Gear VR. Otherwise, it's all just early adopter stuff for now. So this could be the one that brings VR to the masses. We'll wait and see on that one. And here's my spoiler. CryEngine V, or CryEngine 5, was launched. Now you may be wondering, why would you use CryEngine instead of Lumberyard, which is AMD's fork of CryEngine 3.4? Well, that is really kind of on where they're going to go with things. And there's a bunch of really cool things in CryEngine 5. First off, they've gone to a name your own price. So basically, you can get CryEngine for free if you want. If you're hugely successful with it, you send money their way. It's an interesting model. I don't know how well it's going to work out for them, but it's definitely a neat approach. Now, the big things that they've added here, it's CryEngine, so obviously they're going to do a lot of rendering stuff. They've also promised that they're going to get a lot better about support their customers, etc. So better documentation, more accessible tools, etc. But they added C# support, which is definitely cool. So as of right now, the previous version of CryEngine only had Lua, their visual programming language, and C++ support. So now you can use C#. They also done, obviously, rendering improvements, new particle systems, new UI tools, Fmod support, and then an question-answer type community. It'd be interesting to see where CryEngine V goes. I've been meaning to download it, but there's kind of another story in and of itself. CryEngine's servers don't work, so you can't log in. You haven't been able to log in for days and days, so I haven't been able to download it. Nobody has. I haven't checked in the last day or two to see if it's fixed, but hopefully it is. And this is a bit of a shame, because CryEngine some 3 years ago leaked all of their developer information, so it seems like they haven't really improved on the server side of things. So let's hope that rocky road gets actually improved and people can actually try out the new CryEngine V. If I do finally get my hands on it, I will probably do a video of it sometime soon, so you can get an idea of what you're getting. I especially want to see their reworked user interface. On the topic of game engines, Zenko engine 1.6, previously Paradox 3D, 1.6 beta has been released. This actually brings quite a bit of new functionality. Prefabs are now available, archetypes, which is sort of like think inheritance, so you can instance and change from a parent object. There's a particle system editor directly in Zenko. There's also a curve editor, which currently only works with particles, but will be integrated in other parts of the editor too. New graphics engine, experimental Direct3D 12 support, improved OpenGL support. Scripts are now components, event system communications improvement between scripts, and game settings improvements. So, and then many small fixes. So the Zenko engine is definitely one of those engines to check out. I did a 5 or 6 part tutorial series on Paradox 3D. If you're interested, there's a link right off of this link. So it's a neat engine, especially if you want to work in C#. And next up, Lumberyard, while we're on the topic, they released their first beta release. It's 1.1. The big thing here, huge thing here, is an FBX importer, which coincidentally CryEngine 5 also received. And why that's important is CryEngine's tool chain so far required you to implement things as either FBX, Maya or Max plugins. So you needed to use Maya or Max to create content for either of these engines. So now Lumberyard has added a standalone FBX importer. So now you can work with Blender and Lumberyard. I haven't actually tried it yet, so I don't know how good it is. Another major part of this release is tentative support for mobile. And we're talking very, very limited set of devices right now. ARM8 iOS devices and the NVIDIA Shield. So it shows that Android and iOS will ultimately work, but right now it's a very, very small subset. They also did Substance physically based rendering integration and new Twitch chat play integration and a new component entity system. Now, I don't know that developers are screaming for Twitch integration, but it seems to be the thing that Amazon keep betting on. Next up, another mono game announcement. So earlier they announced that they were coming to Xbox One. They also released version 3.5. Kind of across the board improvement. A lot of it is about Apple install, making it run better, better integration into IDEs on the Mac OS and Linux. So just kind of a lot of improvements across the board, as you can see here. They also added Apple TV support, but you have to rebuild the source to make that work. Another major game engine announcement is the Atomic game engine. I did a closer look at this 2 or 3 months back. It's a cool little engine, and it is now MIT licensed and free. So that's definitely a nice development. Atomic is a 2D, 3D engine, primarily scripted in JavaScript for your client language, but it also has support for TypeScript, and Hacks was added by the community. Interesting project. And on top of the release, they also embedded Chromium, so you can have a web browser directly embedded in your game. So that is now MIT licensed and available on GitHub. Now, we've been talking about Substance Painter quite a bit. Substance Painter 2 has been released. New iRay path tracer, smart mask, clone tool, smudge tool, etc. So basically across the board improvements. You can see the launch trailer down here. The PowerVR SDK was released, now having Vulkan support. So if you're doing PowerVR development, your world just got a little bit easier to work with. And finally, Goo Create. It's an HTML5 based game engine and editor that just released an update. No name or version numbering on it, but it has the new particle system component, visual behavior editor, synchronous behavior state transitions, improved action dialogues with fuzzy search, collapsible panels in the UI, and the 65K vertex limit on meshes is no longer resulting in a splitting. So for high density meshes, that's definitely an improvement there. I haven't worked with Goo Create in a very long time, so I don't really know the state of things there. So basically that is it. That is the week of, what is that, the 28th, I think? Oh, that doesn't make any sense. Well, anyways, that's last week's news in game development. With the GDC 2016 winding up, you'll probably be a little bit dry the next couple weeks going forward. Truth of the matter is, kind of an underwhelming GDC on the whole, if I'm honest. A little bit too much VR, a little bit too little in terms of new announcements, but there's definitely some meat in there to play with, so that's nice to see. All right, so that's it. See y'all later. Bye.